I want to give a shout-out to Will Chandler. Will Chandler is a pro playing in this U.S. Open who started today double bogey, quadruple bogey.
Oh.
Yes!
All right.
6, 6, 8, 6. That was only a bogey on his fourth hole. Those were his first 4 holes. He was 9 over through 4. He bogeyed 6, 7, 8, and 10. He was 13 over through 10 holes. Yes!
Happy Friday the 13th.
Got it together. Birdied the 12th, doubled the 15th. He played the last 7 holes in only 1 over to shoot 84. It could have been worse. Shouts to you, Will Chandler. Not going to make the cut. Going to finish maybe second to last. But I just think, to me, maybe that's petty. I don't know. But looking at the bottom of the leaderboards of major championships, to me, it's so relatable. It's just so relatable. Will Palaszczuk, the voice of Charlotte FC, post-game for the Panthers, works with the Hornets as well. We can talk anything with Will Palaszczuk, who joins us on the Adam Gold Show, and we are going to talk U.S. men's national team because Gold Cup starts this weekend. Sunday is the first match for the U.S. against Trinidad and Tobago, and we'll talk about Patrick Agyemang, who I hope will feature because he looked like he was a handful for Switzerland to deal with in their last friendly, the lead-up to this. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk Panthers first. Your takeaway from 3 days of minicamp and the buzz coming out of things on Mint Street.
The biggest thing, Adam, first of all, thank you for having me. I didn't take you for a sadist when it came to golf, but I appreciate that.
It's relatable. It's not being a sadist, it's relatable.
That's true. I think the best thing from the Panthers' perspective, no major new injuries, I think is the best part about that. We did not see Derrick Brown, unfortunately, but from what he told us yesterday, he should be good to go to be cleared by the time we start training camp in July. So that's a very positive thing. I think you saw the implementation of the chess piece that Trevon Mayrig, the new safety, is going to be.
Yeah.
And I think also when it comes to just this defense, I know that we who cover the team maybe feel a little bit more concerned about some depth concerns at corner and safety. They seem to be okay with it at this point in time, although, again, I'll reserve my judgment until I see them play on the field for the first time. But at the same point in time, they feel good about that part. And it's just I like that we are not really talking about the quarterback in terms of, yes, it's a big season, but I think there's a more of an assuredness when it comes to him than maybe there has been in years past, definitely than years past. But even so, more relatively, it does feel like if there are questions about him, they're further down the ledger than they might have been ordinarily in preseasons past.
Will Palaszczuk is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I talked about this earlier. I don't know, and let's have this conversation. I don't know what real importance to place on what we saw the last few games of the season for this, from this standpoint, is that the outcomes of the games didn't really matter. So,
very true.
And when there's real pressure on the outcomes is when we'll be able to judge. So I think, well, we might say, well, it's just game 1 or game 2. I think the start of this season will tell us a lot about what we can expect the rest of the way from Bryce Young. But they're talking about him, maybe not as a proven commodity, but I think they're talking a lot differently about Bryce Young today than they were at any point last year.
100%, Adam. And I think part of it is because you saw confidence from him for the first time in his NFL career, and you saw a little bit of that Bama Bryce swagger that we saw with him in college. Is he ever going to be Mahomes? No, I don't think so. Is he ever going to be the kind of guy who can overcome bad performances from other two phases or parts of his own phase? Probably not. But I do think he can be good enough to where if you get a representative performance on defense, no special teams gaps, they take care of their business, and you play relatively mistake-free football. I know that's a lot to ask, but I think that's how a lot of quarterbacks are in this league. You know, for every team that has a Mahomes or an Allen, there are 10 to 15 other guys who, given things breaking right for them, can make their team a contender. And I think that's the point where they look at Bryce Young at right now. And I think they feel like he's on the upper tier of those kind of players, given the personnel that they've assembled around him. When you think about the fact that they feel Chuba Hubbard's a top 10 running back in this league, they've built a receiving core quite frankly now, Adam, where we went from having about wondering who the heck is going to play wide receiver a couple of years back to now that might be the most uncomfortable cut on this team by the end of July or August. So from that perspective, the culture change has definitely taken its shift. And right now everybody's wondering, okay, can the defense go from bad to average? That's more of the barometer of how people feel like this season is going to go. And I think also more so than the number they win, it's which games do they win? Do they win their games in the division? Do they get maybe one of these better teams or better projected teams on a bad day and give them an L? Do they lose a game you're not projecting them to lose? Like, I think it's all about taking care of business when you can, maybe getting one of those unexpected victories and taking care of business in the division. If those three things happen, or at least maybe two of those three things happen, you've got progress in year two under Canales.
Will Palaszczuk is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show at Willie P. Style on Twitter. Can Bryce Young be the best quarterback in the NFC South?
Oh, I can. Absolutely, he can. It depends on what you think of Baker Mayfield, though. I think he's definitely. I mean, going into the season, I think you favor him over Penix. You favor him over whatever the heck's happening in New Orleans, which again is
Bobby
very much
Hebert is going to be their quarterback, I believe, with the Saints.
Maybe T-Bob can do something for them too. Who knows? But I mean, that basically it's a one horse race right now. Can he outduel Baker Mayfield? Depends on which Baker Mayfield we see. Do we see the Baker Mayfield of 2024? Or do we see the Baker Mayfield that played here in Carolina? That's the $64,000 question for them, because while I do feel like the South is a fait accompli for the Buccaneers, it's not 100% wrapped in seal.
I don't see it as a fait accompli for anybody. I don't think the Buccaneers are better than a 10-win team.
I think getting to 10 wins for any other of these teams is a very, very hard thing to do.
Right, but if the Buccaneers are a 10-win team, then I just don't think you can lose one game and all of a sudden it's 9 and now it's to me it's a crapshoot. I think the division is wide open. I think any one of three teams can win it.
I think it's open, but I think they have if you're asking me to pick one,
okay,
that'd be the one I'd pick.
All right. You mentioned the wide receiver position. Whether it's Tedero and McMillan, David Moore, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, Jimmy Horn Jr., Jalen Coker, Hunter Renfrow. Those are 7 for 6 spots, barring an injury. Who would you say you need to step up your game, sir, or it's not going to happen for you here?
So I think T-Mac, Thielen, and XL are the locks. I would go with Jalen Coker as a semi-lock, which leaves Jimmy Horn, who I know they very much like, and also somebody who they peg for special teams, which is going to be the determining factor. It comes down to, I think, a battle between David Moore and Hunter Renfrow. And I think, again, they like Hunter Renfrow, but it just comes down to who's going to be the more usable chess piece. Do you use Renfrow on kick returns? Do you maybe use him potentially in special teams in another sense as well? I know Moore has done some special teams work as well. That's where I think the battle will come. I've heard of also even a guy like Dan Chisena, who again is more of a special teams only kind of guy, is somebody who could maybe be an upset the apple cart guy, either as a practice squad ad or somebody who at the end of the roster can be that gunner down the right side or left side. So I think those first 4 guys, T-Mac, Coker, Thielen, and XL are all locks. It comes down to, I think, those 3 guys I mentioned for the last 2 spots.
I agree with you. Hunter Renfrow, was such a good player for the Raiders. We all remember how good he was at Clemson. Not that what happened at Clemson should matter now, but no. But for us, we have that frame of reference where I mean, I think he caught 4 touchdown passes total in back-to-back national championship games, including one that won the game. So we have this in our memory that he is a big game player, but he was also really good for the Raiders until the injuries hit. David Moore as a kind of a veteran guy. I mean,
a Canales connection. That's the big part with him.
True, and that certainly doesn't hurt. Jimmy Horn is, an unproven guy. Would there be a chance for Horn to be a practice squad guy, whereas the other guys probably wouldn't?
I think they've outside of Barrett last year, they value their draft picks definitely, and I think they would not have taken Jimmy Horn if they didn't envision him putting a permanent spot on this roster, or at least a permanent as much as a late round draft pick permanence can be. But I do think it's a scenario where he probably has more of a solidified position than most. Although, again, if the injury that he had during minicamp lingers, that could potentially open the door for somebody else.
All right, so you have talked us into 2 players for 1 spot, and that's fair. Will Palaszczuk is joining us. Real quick, we'll wrap up the Panthers here. An area of, position area on this team that you're still not 100% sold on. I think I know where you're going to go, and I agree.
It's 2. It's the corner spot beyond the first 3 dudes, and it's the safety spot opposite Trevon Mayrig. Now, they've said to us that Shaw Smith-Wade can go up and play safety, but that's all very well and good. Then who plays the nickel? Like, that's the part of it that I think is still somewhat unknown. I think Demond Richardson's a nice player, but I don't know if he's somebody I want starting opposite the safety right now. And I think those top 3 corners are okay, but I think there's a significant drop-off to Shamar Bartholomew and the other players who are on that roster. So I feel like those 2 are the empty spots right now. And again, we're talking about a 4th corner. That maybe isn't as big of a need to me as the opposite safety is. I do know they like Lathan Ransom, but I think playing Ransom and Mayrig together is a bit of a redundancy. And I also know that for the 4th round pick, they do not want to give him, they don't want to give him the world right away. They want to maybe take some baby steps with him, because they do feel like he can be a thumper and somebody who can maybe be the heir apparent at that position for Carolina. But those 2 are my big concern right now.
Yeah, I agree, safety, but I actually think they need an upgrade at the other corner spot. I think Mike Jackson is, to me, I would be much more comfortable with him as your 3rd option, but I don't know if he can play the nickel or not. But I would love to see another top corner. Man, I argued last year, hate to be revisionist, but I hated it when they passed up on, there were about 3 cornerbacks sitting there early in the 2nd round when they traded up to get Jonathon Brooks. Man, cornerback, to me, I think great cornerbacks are better than great edge rushers. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's why I'm doing this.
I think they work hand in hand together, but I think it's harder to find an elite edge rusher than it is to find an elite corner.
All right, I'm going to skip basketball with you because
please.
That was great. Will Palaszczuk is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. You're the voice of Charlotte FC. So sure. I'm sure you watched USA Switzerland, and I'm sure you were actually in many ways happy that neither Tim Ream nor Patrick Agyemang started that match. They did come on, and they were both not on the field for any goals against, which is nice. What are your thoughts on both of those 2 guys featuring in the Gold Cup and maybe even in the starting 11?
Well, I was given a window into maybe a little bit of Mauricio Pochettino's philosophy. I talked to Brad Friedel, who you may remember played for him at Tottenham, and he also did his coaching licenses under Mauricio, and kind of gave me a little window into the way that he's looked at this. It does not seem to me to think that Mauricio Pochettino is putting a whole lot of emphasis on winning the Gold Cup. He is treating this and really every match that lasts between now and the start of the World Cup as a proving ground, right, and not necessarily one where you look at it and say, I'm looking to find my starting 11 per se. I'm looking to find who I can count on. So I think you're seeing a mix and match. He started a very young lineup against Switzerland. Yes. And I think he admitted afterwards, hey, you know what? That's on me. We need to put out a more competitive lineup. But I think he's trying to figure out who he can count on. And right now, with the current roster he has, I don't even know if he has 11 he can count on. Because I do think there are nice pieces. You mentioned Ajimon, who gives guys problems. I think Luna is a very, very nice piece.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is a lot of the very key pieces, Palaszczuk, Dest, etc., they're not here. And I think that's the part of it that's somewhat discouraging, is that I don't think we're going to get a real good feel of what exactly this looks like from Mauricio Pochettino until they play more friendlies. I don't think the Gold Cup is going to be a good barometer for it. And also, just to be put simply, if you have bad feelings about next year, you're not wrong for feeling that way, because I think we all felt like the coaching change was going to make this all look different. I'm here to tell you that this is a problem that's more systemic of the federation.
Mm-hmm.
It is a federation-wide problem, from identifying talent to pay for play. I mean, we could do an hour on the whole thing as to why the U.S. men's national team is not where they really should be, given where they are in their current footprint. But to give you the short answer, and what the federation will tell you, is that Mauricio right now is in the lab. He's in experiment mode right now, and I wouldn't be making room in the trophy case for a Gold Cup trophy necessarily.
I'm not either, and I don't think winning it matters. I think getting out of the group, if they don't get out of the group, given regardless of who they're going to field as an 11, as a 25-man squad, I think that would be alarming if they didn't get out of this particular group, because it would speak to the lack of depth within the system. There's enough now for them to at least escape Group D with the likes of Trinidad and Tobago, who has been a thorn in the side, Haiti, and Saudi Arabia. They can get out of this group. With this group.
3 teams they're playing in the group are worse than the teams they played in the friendly, and I think that was done by design.
Yeah,
I think they played tougher competition in the friendly because they knew that they probably get not quite a walkover, but these are 3 teams that the U.S. men's national team should be expected to beat with even their C squad. So I do think it's a scenario where maybe we saw some alarming things, but I don't think it's anything that's going to keep them from getting out of the group.
All right, final thing for you, Will Palaszczuk, because this to me was the only real alarming thing that I saw against Switzerland and even against Turkey. Is Matt Turner really still the best we've got in goal?
I don't know if he is. Because it definitely feels like there should be a shift change, and it's not like we don't have dudes who we can call upon, whether it's Schulte with Columbus, a couple of others as well. I know that we can go back down the Ethan Horvath train of mind as well. There are dudes, and goalkeeper, national team goalkeeper is one of the more scrutinized positions in all of world sport, because not very many people get to say that they get to start for the national team at goalkeeper, and a lot of dudes try to make that bid. They always call up 3 or 4 dudes, and a lot of times those 3 other dudes end up going there for a trip. So
yep.
I do think it's on Pochettino to try and find another option there.
I mean, Matt Turner is not playing anywhere, right? He was a backup at Palace. He was there on loan. Horvath, I think, is starting, but it was a team, wasn't in the top division, although there's nothing wrong with starting in the championship. Maybe Zach Steffen is the better option. Actually,
I like Steffen.
I watched him play.
Steffen's played good this year.
Yeah, I watched him I was at a Colorado Rapids game last summer. I was unimpressed. I'll just say that
he's had a better year this year. We played against him earlier this year with Charlotte FC. He's had a much better year. He's a good shot stopper. A lot of times his people in front of him don't exactly help him out either. So
that's another issue. Will Palaszczuk, enjoy the goal. Who's winning the Club World Cup? I don't care about it either.
Real Madrid.
PSG.
All right.
PSG.
Semantics.
Their second team, because they're going to use their second team.
It's true.
They're awesome. All right, Will, I appreciate your time. At Willie P. Style. We'll do it again soon.
Always, Adam. Thank you.
You got it.